All right, thank you. You close that slider, right? We're all good. But thanks for having me. A lot of times when I'm out in public, a lot of people will come up to me and say, like, they'll stare at me and they'll say, "Where'd you get that shirt?" And I'll say, "Well, that's a great story." And so I tell them the story. 23 years ago, a young hip hop artist was celebrating his music project release with his group Miscellaneous. And he was in the parking lot. And while he was in the parking lot, making sure everything was calm and everything was good that was going on, someone came around the corner of him in his backside and pulled a gun and pow, 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 pow. Instantly, he was shot in the neck. As he spun, his body also had a bullet graze the back of his skull. He laid down to the floor, unable to move from the head to his feet, unable to breathe on his own, unable to even cry out for help, unable to even let a person know that he survived, that he's still alive. As he struggled to survive, he prayed. He knew that there was more in life to do. He almost reached his goal of music, this music project, but he knew that there was more. And he didn't know what the circumstances were, but he wanted to live. And as he could hear the people in the chaos in the background of someone's been shot, he just laid there and said, I want to live. I want to live. There's more to this life. The ambulance got there. The next thing you know, he's going to the hospital. But when he gets to the hospital, the medical staff is pushing tubes down his throat because he's unable to breathe without any with himself. So he has a machine pumping air into him. And then they're putting a feeding tube down his throat. And then they take this metal cage and put his head in it. And they take 4 screws and they're drilling his skull. If anybody's ever been to a dentist, it's like 100 times worse. The pain that he was feeling. And then it was over. He was in and out of consciousness. That morning, he saw his family, medical, and friends. And that's where he learned where he would never be able to walk again, unable to move again, unable to breathe again. He may not even able to survive. He's not even out of the woods yet. He's still struggling. He's still in intensive care. And that's where he learns that he may not do anything ever again. The only communication is as they ask him, do you understand what we're saying? Blink yes for once, blink twice for no. The communication of eye blinks was the only thing that he had to the world outside of his body. Days went on. 2 weeks later, the hospital and the doctors decided he'll never breathe on his own again. They had to take the tubes out of his throat or out of his mouth and put them in his throat. They gave him a tracheotomy. Now the goal is to survive, but also to breathe. Days go, being suctioned, trying to just get back to what his body was before, sitting up 20 degrees and passing out, putting into a wheelchair, not able to move. He was getting better, he was surviving, but he was also withering away. What could we do for him next? They hear about the rehab place. He's got to go through rehabilitation. There's no book on this rehabilitation on what steps to do next, but they hear about a place out in Denver called Craig Hospital. They specialize getting people off ventilators, which he's on the ventilator. And that was a big goal that they wanted to achieve, was him to breathe again. He already survived. Now he needs to breathe. Before you know it, he's on his way in a plane, in a stretcher, going to Colorado, to Craig Hospital for this thing called rehabilitation. When he gets there, the doctors and medical staff and everything examine him and do what they do with their, their checkpoints. And then a respiratory therapist comes in and says, hello, I'm going to turn your ventilator off for 30 seconds. You're going to breathe. Now he's like, how am I going to breathe inside of himself, even though he's not able to speak? He's like, what am I going to do? What is it? How do I breathe? I don't even remember how to breathe. The ventilator's turned off. He's pushing, he's pushing, he's pulling. He's sucking it in. He doesn't know. The longest 30 seconds of his life is happening. Respiratory therapist turns the ventilator back on. You did good. See you in a few hours. Little did he know that they do this 5 days a week, 3 times a day in 30-second increments. This is what they call weaning off the ventilator. This is the strategy and the tools that are going to use to get this person off the vent. The next day goes on. He starts learning about things called occupational therapy and physical therapy. This is where they stretch you and teach you to balance and core. And he also has an education class. So he's not just going to lay there in bed all day. He's going to work. It's like boot camp. Weeks go on, suctioning, therapy, weaning off the ventilator, taking 30 steps forward, 50 steps backwards, and so on and so on. But the goal is to remain the same, to get off the ventilator and breathe again. While in rehab, one of the most amazing moments of his life, actually the life-changing, probably the biggest choice that he's ever made, happened. He was in the room, he was in between therapies, eating lunch and waiting, and a priest came into the room. The priest asked him, "Do you forgive who or whom did this to you?" Without a thought, without a blink. He said yes, even though he wasn't able to say it verbally. He said it with his soul. He said it with his spirit. He said it with his faith. He forgives who did this to him. The decision that he made, it was like the clouds opened up in the sky and the sun was shining upon. And God was looking at him saying, "That's my boy. You did well." The miraculous decision changed everything in his life. Before you know it, he was getting 4 screws taken out of his skull. This thing called a halo was now removed, and he was now able to move his head left and right and up and down. He started to improve and improve and improve, but he still wasn't off the ventilator yet. A wheelchair was ordered. Soon he would be going home. The wheelchair gets there to the rehab facility. It's the wrong chair. What looked like something of a mistake was actually a blessing. Because of the wheelchair being misordered, that allowed him to have time to still work towards that goal, which is to breathe again without a ventilator. By waiting for the wheelchair to come in, he was working towards breathing, working hard. And before you know it, 2.5 weeks before he was supposed to go home, the ventilator was coming out. He was able to breathe air once again, not exactly as they did before, without the struggle of his diaphragm still being paralyzed. But he had no more machines, no more tubes hooked to him. He was able to breathe. Goal achieved. But the journey continues because now he's got to go home. But the great thing is that he was blessed to be able to go home to his mother's house and his stepdad. His stepdad built a ramp and widened the doorway. He didn't have to go home to an institution or go to a nursing home. He was able to go home where he could feel love and get care, even though it wasn't the same care that he was getting in the rehab, but it was going to be the best care because we were all going to make it work. While home, he didn't know what to do. He had all these answers, all these questions. How am I going to live independently? How am I going to go to my own place? How am I going to have a family? How am I going to work? Am I going to go to school? What are my friends going to think? Going through his head. But he did what he always has done. Move forward. Don't lay down. Keep resilience. He found this resource called Disability Network in his area. And the president at that time was Mr. Zelli. and he met up with Mr. Zelli. And Mr. Zelli looked at this 20-year-old guy, just going through the worst time of his life, and said, "You may not believe this, but you'll be able to achieve anything that you want to do. Just get involved, share your testimony, advocate, show that it is possible to live with a disability, to live life, even through the times that are challenging." He decided that he'll listen to him. Why not? He has faith. And this guy is believable. He believes in him. Before you know it, Mr. Zelli sets up with self-determination living, where now this guy's life, he's a business owner of his life, because now he's hiring caregivers. He's writing schedules. He's hiring. He's doing firing. Everything that a business does now is also his life. But that's not all. He wanted more, and he knew that there was more to do, more to achieve, goals to go after. He wanted to move out. He wanted to get back to how life was, stubbornly. He's not going to get back to that life that he was living before. But he sure did try. And he learned the hard way by going back to college, commuting 5 days a week, which was very difficult, especially in the Michigan times where it's winter and construction. But eventually he was able to put a team together and say, Project Move Out, to be independent. Before you know, he's moving into his own apartment. And now he's got 24-hour care. He's got a backup plan of a backup plan of a backup. Still, sometimes things happen. But he wasn't finished yet. See, he was a hip hop artist where they said he would never rap again, never perform again. So he went to do anything, he went to music. He opened up a record company. He learned how to write articles of incorporation. We have the internet. Everything's right there. He had the record company for a couple years. It worked out all right, but everybody wanted to be superstars because everybody thinks there's overnight success. Not true. But because of his hard work, a guy in Detroit heard about him and he had a newspaper, and he wanted him to work for him, deliver the paper and write a column. And yes, this guy can write. He writes by his voice. Every word is typed by his voice. He knew how to do the paper. He was a paper boy when he was young. So he already had the skills. So he decided to work for this guy. And he did it for about 5 to 6 years, but still he was able to be in the music industry and build relationships while he was doing it. Eventually the paper closed down. And what was he gonna do next? Not just lay there like any other time. He's always pushing forward. A grant was available for mentoring. He signed up. He said, I think I could be a great fit for that. Before you know it, for a couple of years, he was doing mentoring for the state of Michigan. New administration came in. The grant was the first thing to be chopped. What am I going to do next? He says. MySpace is now up and running. He learns about this thing called internet radio. I could do that. He purchases a blanket license through Live 365 and starts an internet radio station. He contacts his neighborhood friends, brings them on, and builds this internet radio company. Things were going good for a while. People were sending music. A&Rs wanted to be there. Interviews were happening. Shows were being produced all over the world, from Africa to Australia to LA, just everywhere. But then internet radio was in trouble. It was forced to get shut down. Royalty rates was happening. And like anything before, like Mr. Zelli said, get involved and advocate. Instead of just letting internet radio crumble, he was all of a sudden getting into his wheelchair accessible van at 11 o'clock at night with his caregiver, heading to Washington, D.C. to fight for internet radio and introduced the Internet Equality Act. Speaking to legislators on the House and Senate, and then getting voted on, internet radio was saved. We did it, so we thought. Eventually, the royalty rates changed. He was unable to afford the station, and he had to shut it down. So many attempts of businesses, so many attempts of ventures, so many attempts of going after goals, achieving them, and then having to close some of them. But he didn't give up. He thought what to do next. He had a childhood dream, a dream to have his own clothing line. In fact, when he was little, he used to wear his shirt inside out and imagine his name backwards on it, Sire. Some of the services that he receives is called supportive employment. Supportive employment has a contract with Goodwill. So he met with the person named Cheryl, and they developed the business plan together. They wrote the business plan and then got feedback, and then rewrote and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote until it was great, until it sounded right, until it made sense, until it was clear. And also until they found an investor, not just an investor, but a business partner. This business partner was also the president of the D-Man Foundation, who opened the first barrier-free music therapy recording studio, where this man may also be able to do music again. We shall see. July happened, and before you know it, they're writing the articles of incorporation for this new business venture. November of 2011, the doors open. Easy Awareness by Design is born. He now owns his own corporation, once again, with a business partner. Now it's time to work. See, the way he describes it is being on the beach is like the homework and the learning stages of what this business is going to be, and staring into the ocean or the water. Now that the business is open, it's time to jump in the water and swim. Find out what fish you want to work with, who's going to be the people that are going to be backstabbers, who's going to be ethical, who's not, who do you stay away from, where do you go? That's the swimming part. This is the work of learning and the work of doing. Days go on, years go on. In fact, a couple years later, he's already public speaking, he's going everywhere. He goes to his graphic design artist and says, I want to put this on my shirt when I go speak. He starts to wear this word on his shirt when he goes to speak. At first, it was just going to be for him. But then he starts seeing the impact. You start seeing the way that people embrace it. You start seeing the way it empowers. You start seeing the way that it's a breath of fresh air to people. You start seeing what the movement has created. He goes back and says, we got to make this public. Before you know it, this word is on shirts and people are wearing it. As he likes to describe, it starts like a seed and it grows into this tree. And every branch that grows from this tree is every person that supports this word and that wears this shirt. And they also have their own view of what the word means to them. See, some people are battling chemo. There's a person that was battling dialysis. They always wanted to wear the shirt. Some person has found someone that just encouraged them. But they each brought a different branch to this tree. But it focused on one mission. It focused on the mission of what this word was and what this brand was being born. See, it empowered in a positive way. It brought the most creativity of a person out. It wanted to bring the best of a person. So when you wear this word, you wore this shirt, you felt amazing. Little did he know that this word would change his life. In fact, before you know it, he's developing relationships with the man, the founder of FUBU, and also on Shark Tank, and staying in touch with him and going to his academy. And then I'm being the ambassador for 3 of his books. And then also the trip of a lifetime to fly out to LA to be on Shark Tank not to be an investor or an entrepreneur, but to be able to have the Shark Tank experience, to be able to meet the sharks, to be able to get that work ethic, experience of a lifetime. He goes home and what's he do? He takes that information that he learned and he puts it towards the brand and he keeps growing the brand. The doors keep opening. But also, as I said, his business partner, the studio now opens for the D-Man Foundation. Will he be able to do music again? Before you know it, he's in the studio and he's recording music again. Something that they said he would never do. 17 years later, he's rolling out on the stage at a huge suburban showplace center, ready to perform music for the very first time since his injury. Something they said he would never do. The brand keeps living on. The brand keeps growing. So many doors have been opened just from one word. One word. In fact, a lot of people ask him, how did it all start? And he tells people, the brand, the word was always there. It was just waiting for me to catch up to it. I just had to get mature. I just had to be ready. This one word is so powerful that there's a famous quote that this guy wrote. And the quote goes like this: I never knew how powerful one word could be until I wore it on a shirt. And that quote was by Eric Patrick Thomas. Yeah. Thank you.
Eric, that was absolutely amazing. That your story, I've heard your story before, but that just, I'm like tearing up and I'm like, oh, I gotta be on camera. um, yeah, that was just so amazing. I'm kind of speechless. So I'm just gonna jump into our questions um, as I kind of collect my thoughts before I say anything. So, um, were there any points you wanted to give up? If so, how did you keep pushing forward?
Faith. Faith. I'll tell you this: faith. If I didn't have faith, I'd be broken. And actually, I was broken, and the faith actually built me up stronger. So I'm so blessed to be able to have that as a child because I never felt alone. I never felt about giving up. I never felt about suicide. I just wanted to keep pushing, keep forward, and focusing on the goals and the dreams is what helped. But also, I've been able to help a lot of people. I mean, what happened? It's a traumatic thing that happened, you know. But there's so many people that's received help from it. So many people. So many people's lives have changed.
Mm-hmm.
So many people's lives have saved because they've told me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably other people I have never talked to. So it's like, and there's so many people I've met, amazing people I've met. So faith is 100%.
Yep, absolutely. That is um, my exact answer for that question as well with my story. Um, faith is just, it's an incredible thing. I mean, it's saved me. I know it, and you know, you can see it, in you. I've gotten the pleasure to become friends with you, and you're so inspiring, and I just have loved getting to know you and seeing your positivity is is amazing. Did you say that you were on Shark Tank?
No, I was able to go out there and visit the set. So I was
Oh,
a
nice.
guest on the Shark Tank show.
That's
So I was able to
awesome.
see 9 pitches. So I was able to see the entrepreneurs sweating it out. Let me tell you,
Nice.
it's intense.
Is it?
You don't want to be on the other end of that door when it opens up and 5 sharks are staring at you, and you don't know your numbers. You know you're right, and you got a high evaluation. You're
Right. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
That
it's intense, but it's great. They're awesome. The hospitality is amazing, and it's all real, no script. Just like this right now. That's
mhm.
how it is. Then they just take it to the editing floor and cut it down into an hour show. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. Oh my
it
gosh.
was
That's
amazing.
yeah, that sounds amazing. I love that show. It's very intimidating. And I don't know how those people face the sharks.
Yeah,
It's got to be nerve-wracking.
they just got to be ready. They just got to be prepared.
Right.
That's my advice for
Yeah.
anybody that goes on it. Just be ready. Know your stuff. If you know your stuff, you're going to be confident. You get the confidence, then you're able to negotiate whatever you need to negotiate.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I did a wheelchair burnout on the set.
Did you?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. So can you talk a little bit more about your work that you do on with legislation and the Congress on the Congress floor? Can you
yeah,
kind of expand on that? Because I think that is super important for those with who have um, who are on disability, and the fact that you have done that is amazing. So if you can expand on that a little bit, that'd be
yeah.
amazing.
One of the like things that really stands out mid 2000. This guy named Dave, and then we're going back to the Disability Network. Mr. Zelli calls and says, "Can you be up here?" Congressman Dale Gildy is coming up to listen to to listen about people with disabilities and the independence of living at home and stuff. And I was like, okay. So I went up there, and Dave and I are there, and we're talking to Congressman Dale Gildy. And whatever we said, I mean, it was like the pitch of the lifetime because we only had like 2 minutes and 30
Mhm.
seconds or something.
Yeah.
But he took that info and he put this bill together called Money Follows the Person.
Hmm.
And it's brought billions of dollars to get people out of nursing homes and put them in, and so they can live independently. And they still vote on it today. Still today on the House and Senate floor, they still vote on the Money Follows the Person. So it's probably more like billions and billions and billions.
Mhm.
Probably more than I'd have no idea what type of even figure of a number
Yeah.
of what it was. And that's amazing because that lets me know like just showing up and
Mhm.
just some of the words that I said, just I just spoke it. I didn't have to prepare,
Right.
and it's allowed people to be out of nursing homes if they don't want to live there, to be able to live independent life and have a good quality of life.
Mhm.
So that's great. I mean, that's
Yeah.
great to be a part of. I've also like when they made Medicaid or Medicare caps or
Mhm.
cuts. So I went to like Lansing and spoke at the House or Senate, testifying because I'm an example of that it is possible to be able to have caregivers and have an independent life, a
Absolutely.
good quality of life.
Mhm.
I don't have to go to a nursing home or institution where they spend lots and lots of money on 24-hour care and maybe get 3
Mhm.
hours of the care.
Mhm.
That you can actually live in a home and have caregivers and actually be able to make that decision, be responsible and have a fiduciary, everything, and it works.
Yeah.
So that's what I go and talk to them about. Because I've been able to build relationships with them too, on both sides. It doesn't, because I mean, people are people.
Yeah.
You know, um, and then there was other times that you have to get really rebel.
Mhm.
That's where you call adapt. You call the adapt warriors because adapt does not play. Those are the people that are going to surround buses with their bodies. They're going to put people that use power wheelchairs first and trap you in, like put you in front of buildings and keep the doors closed. Those are the people that you saw when the Affordable Care Act and everything, when they were trying to change healthcare and everything, that sacrificed their bodies
Mhm.
in the Capitol. I
Right.
mean, you will see them getting drug out of their chair, lifted out, saying, no us without us, and yeah, I mean, they were on the ground. Man, shout out to Adapt. Those are your warriors. Those are the people that you call when things are not going well,
Yeah.
because they're there and they're there in numbers. When people start seeing 1,000, 2,000 people in power wheelchairs, amigos, and crutches, and they're like, whoa, we
Yeah.
don't, yeah, they come in numbers and they
Yeah.
come strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you just got to kind of always advocate, not just legislatively, but just when you're everywhere you're at.
Right. Yeah.
When you start talking to people with disabilities, you start learning. So when you go to a restaurant, I'm like, where's the aisleway? Where's the closed caption? What's the
Mhm.
wheelchair accessible bathroom look like? The curb cuts, accessible parking, all that stuff. So
Right. Yeah. And
you have to raise that awareness.
yeah. And, I'm glad that you said that because, you know, people who don't have disabilities, they, they don't have to find those adaptive things. They don't have to find, um, the closed captionings. They don't have to find the handicap ramp. Um, but it's amazing when you like step back and you think about it and you know, how much advocating for people with disabilities could how much that could change if people if people went to Congress, people went to the higher ups or whatever, and it's because people with disabilities, they deserve to be able to go out in public and stuff just as much as everybody else. But
Yeah.
so how can people get a hold of you? I know that you are graciously giving the VIP people um, one of your products from Inspire.
Yeah.
If they if they reach out to you by, was it March 7th?
Yeah. A week from
Okay.
now. Yep.
Yep. So if you reach out to him, he will give you um, give you a one of his products, and that is amazing. And so if you want and something from Inspire and you are not part of the VIP, you can go to the website and upgrade to www.seektheheart.com.
Upgrade. Upgrade.
Yeah, upgrade. You get so many amazing things. It's incredible. Um, so Eric, there are so many comments on Facebook about how inspiring your story is and just how uplifting and positive you are. And so we have
Sweet.
to end here, but thank you so much for coming on. You have been amazing. Your story is absolutely inspiring, and it I hope that everybody who is watching um is it impacted them the same way it impacted me. So thank you so
Excellent.
much.
And you can
Oh
find me
yeah, you
at
didn't.
Eric Patrick Thomas. That's all right. Eric Patrick Thomas on Facebook and IG. But Google too. You can just Google Eric Patrick Thomas, and things will pop up from there. And then Inspire shirt, Inspire is just Inspire shirt. Except the IG is Inspire shirt #1. And
Perfect.
I told you I was gonna do so. So everybody that got to hear this today, this is the first time that I ever did the story, telling the story of me in that way.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
I'm always saying it like as I'm going through it. This time I actually told you a story
Right.
of me. So
Yeah.
that was the very first, and it was pretty sweet. I was
Yeah.
liking it. I was,
Yeah, that was so cool. I knew had told me you were going to do
yeah.
that. And I was like, huh, that'll be interesting. And that was really cool. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and we will be in touch with you.